New breed, global truth. What's good, everybody? It's your brother New Breed coming through with another live stream. What's going on? I see T-Bird in the building. Nikki's in the house. Dre Static. Simona. Mama Bear Judah's in the building. Grace Hill. Ash Flores. Joshua the Don is in the building. Boss Life. I see y'all. Make sure y'all hit the like button on your way in. Let's get right to it. It should be super obvious that Donald Trump is planning to starve the poor while feeding the rich. It should be obvious that he's getting rid of the middle class altogether. And now he takes things to a whole new level. Now, y'all know just a couple weeks ago, the Trump administration went after Section 8 in housing. They basically did some budget cuts and took away $20 million or $1 billion actually from HUD. So, now he's taking it a step further and he's going after Medicaid and SNAP benefits. Now, for the record, this expeditiously affects everyone. A lot of people believe that this only affects Black folks in the hood, when in actuality, by race, white people get 37% of the SNAP benefits in this country. That's right. In case you didn't know. Now, of course, the percentages break down like this. Blacks get about 26%, Hispanics 16%, and others, Asian, Native American, multiracial, that's 5 to 6%. Now, the argument would be for some, well, why is it that Blacks are a smaller demographic of people, but they make up 26%? That's a weak argument. Let's make that very clear. That's a very weak argument because Blacks have obvious disadvantages. Like, systematic racism, slavery, Jim Crow, et cetera, et cetera. But not to mention, this thing is getting the people outraged. All right. Now let's go here. Let's look at the news, how Trump's GOP budget bill could slash SNAP benefits and how this bill has already been approved as of just maybe an hour ago. And they're actually calling it the Big Beautiful Bill. The Big Beautiful. That's what they're calling it, y'all. So, yeah, this is crazy. But listen here.
As President Trump's budget bill dominates headlines, Americans are facing the possibility of benefits they depend on being diminished. One of them, the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, or SNAP. The bill includes substantial spending cuts for multiple federal programs, including SNAP, commonly known as food stamps. The bill cuts federal funding for SNAP by about $267 billion.
Sheesh, they're cutting food stamps by $267 billion. Wow. I mean, more budget cuts, less food. Now, once we go over these numbers here, I want y'all to understand how this gets the rich richer. I'm going to explain it to you, right? But peep this.
Over 10 years. That's according to the most recent analysis from the Congressional Budget Office. SNAP currently provides food assistance to more than 40 million Americans. Elaine Waxman joins us now. She's a senior fellow in the Tax and Income Supports Division at the Urban Institute and has expertise in food insecurity, food access, and federal nutrition programs. So they
Now, that number is astronomical, ladies and gentlemen. Absolutely astronomical. Now, I want to show you all something. Now, y'all give me a moment here, because I'm going to an article here. I want to read something for y'all, because we have to understand how the rich get richer. I'm going to let this play a little while, and I want everybody, as you come into the broadcast, make sure you hit the like button. This is very pivotal information that we're putting out. Let's go.
And thanks for being here. Can you sort of give us the full breadth of the changes to SNAP benefits and what they mean for the Americans that receive them?
Absolutely. And the changes are huge. As you noted, it will cut about 30% of what we would expect the program to spend over the next 10 years. And what that means in reality is that approximately all states will have to contribute some percentage of SNAP benefits.
That's all states. All 50 states will have to cut SNAP benefits. Now, I want you to understand. I'm gonna try to explain this in the simplest way possible, how this makes the rich richer, because contrary to popular belief, you got the mass majority believing that Trump is trying to fix the economy. Ladies and gentlemen, that's a lie. Trump is only trying to feed the rich, right? Now, first and foremost, any budget relocation that happens favors the rich. Now, when SNAP is cut, the federal government saves money. But where does the money go to? That's the key, right? The money is often redirected towards tax cuts, subsidies, or military contracts, areas that overwhelmingly benefit the wealthy and corporations. For example, during Trump's presidency, there were massive tax cuts in 2017 that primarily benefited the 1% and large businesses, while programs like SNAP, Medicaid, and housing aid were targeted for reduction. See, Trump did this before his first term, but it kind of went unnoticed. Trump did this the first term, and it benefited the rich. And he's at it again. And, you know, we're going to talk about how the Most High is going to judge these devils for what they're doing. Oh, yeah, because the Most High speaks directly against what the U.S. government is doing right now. He speaks directly against it. So when I cover these topics, I want y'all to understand that there's judgment for it. There's consequences. There's repercussions. The Almighty is not happy about what is happening. And there's no need for you, brothers and sisters, to fret or be in any type of fear, because the Most High God is going to deal with this appropriately. Now, let's play a little more of this.
A huge change from the original plan of the program, where the federal government always paid for SNAP benefits and states paid for half of the administrative cost. It's a little hard to explain, but the range what states will pay for runs anywhere from 5 to 25%, and it affects every state in the country. Given that states can't deficit spend, it's unlikely they'll be able to absorb those costs. And so we will probably be looking at people either losing eligibility or getting reduced benefits, or both.
Right. So the babies get less food. The elderly get less food. See, y'all need to understand that working class citizens are on SNAP benefits. And while we're dealing with this inflation, these tariffs, the trade war, all of that's going on, brothers and sisters, people need more assistance, not less. But the rich are trying to get richer. How? How, Breed? Well, lower spending justifies bigger tax breaks. See, when they cut social programs, y'all got to understand it's framed as a physical responsibility, creating political cover to justify tax cuts. And this is how we get in the vein of trickle-down economics. This is how we get into the vein of trickle down economics, because if the rich are making, if the rich are not spending as much, then it lowers tax cuts for them. It lowers tax breaks for them. So it's all manipulation, yo. It's the evilest thing in the world, man. This is Babylon is falling, bro, and it's because it's evil. Let me give y'all an example. Lawmakers can argue that we must reduce the deficit and then offer tax relief to the wealthy as a reward for job creation. Ain't that what Trump talking about? Job creation? Even when evidence shows this rarely trickles down. So it never really hits our pockets because we're making less and less, while they're making more and more and finding ways they can get bigger tax cuts. I mean, it's sick. It's a sick game that Trump is playing. Let's go.
Able to absorb those costs. And so we will probably be looking at people either losing eligibility or getting reduced benefits or both.
And so in terms of states having to shoulder some of that cost, you write on your website this would significantly strain state budgets in normal economic circumstances. What else are you hearing from them on whether they'll be able to shoulder this?
Absolutely. Well, one of the concerns we have is that SNAP is a very important stabilizing force when we have a recession. So in an economic downturn, every additional dollar of SNAP generates about $1.54 in economic activity.
Right. So now we're in a recession where SNAP benefits are needed more. I'm telling y'all, man, they trying to turn this into Soylent Green. They want the poor with nothing to eat and all the way until they eat the rich. That's what's about to happen. When the poor ain't got nothing to eat, they gonna eat the rich. Another way that the rich benefit, they maintain control over the poor. By keeping poor and working class citizens economically dependent and desperate, it becomes easier to do what? Suppress wages, weaken labor movements, divide the working class by race, making it harder to challenge economic inequality at the top. This is what they're doing, ladies and gentlemen. They're making it more difficult for working class citizens to come together and fight for what's right, to fight for equality. Meanwhile, all the truck imports are damn near empty. Ladies and gentlemen, something's coming to this country. And you will be blind and foolish not to see it. Now, the scriptures talk directly against this, but when we're going to go there, what else is the rich doing to become richer while the poor get poor? Stock market and private sector gain. All this stuff you see going on is to manipulate the stock market. Now, with SNAP cuts, that can lead to increased privatization of food relief, like food banks, private charities, or even corporate food assistance programs. Wealthy investors and corporations profit from this crisis economically by selling cheaper processed food, investing in profit prisons where many people end up, or controlling large parts of the food supply. So now they can have more control over the food. Now they can govern the food. They can sell it for cheaper, highly processed, highly inflammatory food that destroys every major organ in the body, and they can facilitate that. So not only do you get a food shortage, you get a nutrition crisis, which also sends you to Dr. Kevorkian and them. It's diabolical. Let's go. And everybody get the likes up. This is real important news. Let's go.
Which also generates jobs. And so it's been one of the most important ways of buffering economic distress. But it's unlikely that states could take on even more enrollment during that period, we estimate that in 1 year, states would probably be looking at nearly $1 billion in additional costs on top of their cost share.
That is in this situation of an economic downturn. So the CBS News price tracker, which can be found on our website, it shows which items cost more compared to 2019. So eggs, they're up 250%. Ground beef up 54%. White bread up 49%. Those are just a few, and you can see more on your screen. Is this bad timing when many families are spending more on their groceries, so their SNAP benefits are actually not even going as far?
Absolutely, because this was, I think, a major issue on people's minds in the last year. And we know that even prior to this moment, SNAP benefits were inadequate to cover the cost of a moderately priced meal.
Exactly. Here it is. The food prices are going up and the SNAP benefits are going down. Are you kidding me? Listen, Proverbs 22:16. He that oppresseth the poor to increase his riches, and he that giveth to the rich shall surely come to want. Anybody who is suppressing those who are in poverty in order to enrich themselves, they will always want. They will be destroyed by their own desires and wishes. Oh, the Most High is going to get to these people. I'm going to show y'all. Not only do I want you, brothers and sisters, to be aware of what's going on, but I want you to understand spiritually what the Most High got cooking for this satanic nation that we're in. Let me show you what he got cooking. Isaiah 10:1. Woe to them that decree unrighteous decrees, and that write grievousness, which they may prescribe, to turn aside the needy from judgment and to take away the right from the poor of my people. These bills, these executives' orders are wicked decrees. Wicked decrees. Wake up. Brothers and sisters, you got to wake up. And I'm talking about all of you people out there who are avid Trump supporters. Listen, I'm going to just make this known right now. Let me say this. Let me say this. I want to make this very clear. I'm against anybody that's in the office. I don't care who is in the office. You know why? Because it's supposed to be our people running. It's supposed to be our people in rulership and leadership. I'm talking about the children of Israel. I'm talking about the Most High God's people. I don't care who's in the office. Whoever's in the office gonna get this barbecue. I want you brothers and sisters to understand that that's where the Most High stands in all of this. And that's where we should stand in all of this. Because why? They have the authority to make things right, and they're not. They're continuing to align their pockets. They're continuing to destroy the poor and middle class. And now you got this fraud in the office who got everybody food, did a publicity stunt claiming that they almost got assassinated. We know that was a lie. You got this devil in the office trying to convince you all that there's white genocide taking place in South Africa, when the papers that he used to try to prove his case was actually something that was going on in the Congos, where they were persecuting our people. Just to show you that they've been utilizing reverse racism. President Donald Trump is a liar, a pathological liar. He just promised the nation that he would cut taxes off of tips and offer overtime. Turns out that that's a lie. That bill was passed, and guess what? You still have your taxes. He's acting as if he's trying to make the economy better, but in actuality, ladies and gentlemen, he's only trying to line the pockets of his billionaire friends. And you got people who refuse to see it.
This is Charles Schwab. It's not just a company, it's actually an individual. And he made $2.5 billion today, and he made 900 million. That's not bad. He's a financial.
Hold on, so your billionaire friends, they making a lot of money. Meanwhile, what about these people?
African Americans built this nation. You built this nation. You know, you're just starting to get real credit for that. Okay, I don't know if you know that. You're just starting to you built the nation. We all built it, but you were such a massive part of it. Bigger than you were given credit for. Does that make sense? Right?
Wow. But those billionaire friends are getting richer. They eating good while everybody's starving. But what do them scriptures tell us? In the book of Amos, chapter 5, verse 11. For as much, therefore, as your treading is upon the poor, ye have built houses of hewn stone, but ye shall not dwell in them. Oh yeah, the Most High is going to judge you for all of the corporate greed. For all of the hatred that you had against God's people. For all of the exploitation. And I'm going to tell y'all right now, they're doing it worldwide, not just in the States, not just off our backs, but they out there in South Africa right now doing mineral explorations, trying to find that extraterrestrial minerals, trying to find those minerals that's in the motherland, fracking the ground and whatnot, trying to get mining explorations going. They're looking for something in Africa. That's why Africa's being targeted. Now, we know that the apartheid movement segregated blacks from the white farmers. You had black farmers working for the whites, and they were not even allowed to live around there. They had to move around. And now that the South Africans want their land back, you got Trump lying, bold-faced lying, talking about this white genocide. And now within the states, he's trying to take the little bit of crumbs that American citizens have just to get his rich buddies richer. It's a sad sight, man. It really is. It's a real sad sight. And we're going to go over that bill that he just passed, that they're calling a big, beautiful bill. He's calling it the one big, beautiful bill. That's what they're actually naming the bill that they're passing right now. But look, let's go.
Is a very important stabilizing force when we have a recession. So in an economic downturn, every additional dollar of SNAP generates about $1.54 in economic activity, which also generates jobs. And so it's been one of the most important ways of buffering economic distress. But it's unlikely that states could take on even more enrollment during that period. We estimate that in 1 year, states would probably be looking at nearly $1 billion in additional costs on top of their cost share.
That is in this situation of an economic downturn. So the CBS News Price Tracker, which can be found on our website, it shows which items cost more compared to 2019. So eggs, they're up 250%. Ground beef up 54%. White bread up 49%. Those are just a few, and you can see more on your screen. Is this bad timing when many families are spending more on their groceries, so their SNAP benefits are actually not even going as far?
Absolutely, because this was, I think, a major issue on people's minds in the last year. And we know that even prior to this moment, SNAP benefits were inadequate to cover the cost of a moderately priced meal in any county in the United States. So they're definitely not up to the task for increased spending. And
Yeah, they're not ready for that, and they know that. The American citizens are not ready for, increased spending, hyperinflation, and also getting the SNAP benefits cut. Now, a little fun fact is there are lots of working class citizens on SNAP. Y'all got to understand. This is not just affecting people in the hood like they would. That's the new narrative they're going to push, that it's just you people in the hood who need SNAP and all of that. No, 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 no. No. A major takeaway that you brothers and sisters got to understand is cutting SNAP benefits is very detrimental to the everyday working citizen, including the elderly and the people who are creating life, children, things of that nature, who are also going to be working citizens. So make it known, make it very clear here. Now, let's continue.
For about 4 in 10 households that receive SNAP, SNAP is their food budget.
You hear that? 4 in 10 households. Out of 4 in 10 households, that's a lot. Receive SNAP benefits. Hear it again.
That receive SNAP. SNAP is, they're definitely not up to the task for increased spending. And for about 4 in 10 households that receive SNAP, SNAP is their food budget. They don't really have other resources. So that inadequate benefit is very harmful for those families.
And this time, ladies and gentlemen, there should be SNAP increases. There should be HUD increases. And this is why, hey, we always talking about, building on your own, planting seeds, get your heirlooms, network with people who are like-minded. This is why we talk about these particular things. And then the scriptures tell us about the judgment of these devils for doing what they're doing now. Oh, we're going to go there. James chapter 5, verse 1. Go to now, ye rich men, weep and howl for your miseries. Behold, the hire of thy laborers, which is of you kept back by fraud. Wow. It says, go to now, you rich men, weep and howl for your miseries. Man, listen, the Most High it's going to be a weeping and a howling. Imagine these people going to hell remembering exactly what they did to those who was working hard, those who was just trying to maintain, those who were trying to feed their families. It's going to be a weeping and a howl. Y'all going to be miserable for what y'all did to these people. And I got to ask all you Trump supporters who's screaming MAGA. First of all, MAGA hats are made in China. Second of all, this is affecting your people. This is affecting your people more than anyone. But see, I care for the people. For me, it's not about race. It's not about nationality, skin color. I care about the people. Your president don't. Your president don't care. Now, the scriptures tell us in Ecclesiastes 5 and 8, if thou seest the oppression of the poor and violent perverting of judgment, marvel not at the matter, for he that is higher than the highest regard. So I know, ladies and gentlemen, it's tough to look at this. If you see the oppression of the poor, you see the violent perverting of judgment, don't marvel. Don't marvel. They will have their day. I'm telling you. Oh, it's coming. Y'all wonder why it's all these storms going on all over the country. You wonder why it's all this erratic weather patterns going on. You wonder why things are happening the way they happening. Hey, the Most High's kindling a fire for these people. Now, I want to go somewhere. One big, beautiful plan is what they're calling this. I want you to hear Mike Johnson talk about Trump's one big, beautiful bill. That's what they're calling it.
Now is the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Mike Johnson of Louisiana. Speaker Johnson, thanks so much for joining us. Republican senators have made it clear that they want to make some changes to the House bill. Senate Majority Leader John Thune told CNN the Senate's going to write its own bill. Even though they have a larger majority than you do, what is your message to your colleagues in the Senate?
Thanks, Jay. Great to be with you. Look, I've been very consistent with our colleagues in the Senate. We worked hand in glove with them all through this process, remembering that the House began this more than a year ago. It was March of last year when we got our committee chairs together and told them to begin to prepare for this massive reconciliation package. We believed at that time, more than a year ago, that we would win the White House, the Senate, and the House and have unified government and have this really once in a generation opportunity.
Y'all see the Baphomet behind them? Y'all see that damn Baphomet star behind him? But listen.
Opportunity to do so much in one piece of legislation. So I met with the Senate Republicans, all my colleagues over there last week.
Look at it. It's turned just like the Baphomet. Y'all see that? So you know exactly who's behind this type of evil. But people want to keep putting their trust in these damn politicians. Let's continue.
Week on Tuesday at their weekly luncheon, and I encourage them, to do their work, of course, as we all anticipate, but to make as few modifications to this package as possible, because remembering that we've got to pass it one more time to ratify their changes in the House, and I have a very delicate balance here, a very delicate equilibrium that we've reached over a long period of time, and it's best not to meddle with it too much.
Let's talk about what the legislation actually does. I want to play something that you said back in January about the national debt.
The number one threat to our nation right now is our debt. We take that very seriously. Congress has kicked the can down the road for decades, and we're out of road. And so we understand that it's our responsibility to fix this.
So, ladies and gentlemen, in layman's terms, the reason why these cuts are happening, so America can pay its debt. But why not charge the rich? That's what the Bible tells you. The Bible don't tell you to charge the working class citizen and poor. If this country is in debt, charge the rich. And guess what, ladies and gentlemen? It ain't our debt. The debt in this country is not our debt. And y'all wonder if these politicians are following Christ. No, they're not. None of them. Proverbs 14:31. He that oppresseth the poor reproacheth his maker, but he that honoreth him have mercy on the poor. They don't have no mercy on the poor. Anytime there's an athletic event, anytime one of these arenas are selling out, they're now stashing the poor. Literally, they're stashing them in different facilities. When it's a Beyonce concert, a Jay-Z concert, they're getting rid of the undesirables. Don't nobody even know what's happening to them. Donald Trump is an elitist. Let's go.
So there are 5 different independent scores of this legislation. Every one of them says that it will increase the deficit somewhere between $3.3 and $4 trillion over the next 10 years. Now, I get you take issue with the Congressional Budget Office and that they don't have dynamic scoring, all this. But this is the emerging consensus among everyone analyzing. They say you're kicking, not only are you kicking the can down the road, but you're making the problem worse. You're adding to the debt.
Well, I think that is dramatically overstated, and here's why. Everyone can, those same groups can objectively see and acknowledge that this is the largest cut in spending in at least 30 years and arguably of all time. We're cutting over $1.5 trillion in federal spending.
And federal spending. Like I told you before, ladies and gentlemen, when they can cut the spending, they're able to get bigger tax breaks. Why? Because it's not fiscal spending, not physical, but fiscal spending. Telling you, man, they telling on themselves. You just got to know the jargon that they talking.
While we check all the boxes and bring about a pro-growth economy. And the CBO has been panned because, as you said, they don't do dynamic scoring. What that means is they don't account for the growth that will be fostered by all the policies that are in this big piece of legislation. This is not theoretical, Jake. Just remember the last Trump administration. After the first 2 years, we brought about the greatest economy in the history of the world, not just the U.S. The growth was off the charts. It was an average of about 3% of growth in GDP. Why? Because we cut taxes and we cut regulations. We're doing the same thing this time around, but on steroids. This is a much larger package, a much more robust package with all these features that will really get the economy going, because wages will rise, job creators, entrepreneurs, risk takers will have more ability to expand their businesses. U.S. manufacturing onshore is being incentivized. All these things will work together to make the economy grow faster than many of these projections.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Bible says if the Most High was going to save Babylon, he would have did it already. These people are playing political mind games with you all. But just know the Most High is watching. Ezekiel 22:29 says, the people of the land have used oppression and exercised robbery and have vexed the poor and needy. Therefore have I poured out my indignation upon them. That's what's happening in this land that we call America. Isaiah 3:14, the Lord will enter into judgment with the ancients. Ye have eaten up the vineyard, the spoil of the poor is in your houses. Oh, the Most High is going to, listen, he's going to deal with this. He's congregating with the ancients right now. And when them saints come marching in, they finna obliterate this satanic system that we in right now. It's finna get obliterated. That's the good news. People be afraid of these talking points, afraid to hear the truth. No, this is the good news. Just know when you see this happening, that we a step further, or a step closer rather, from judgment. Proverbs 28:27. He that giveth unto the poor shall not lack, but he that hideth his eyes shall have many curses. You would think after having all these billions upon billions of dollars that they would want to give to the poor so they wouldn't lack. You would think that they would be given. Nope. Jeremiah 22:13. Woe unto him that buildeth his house by unrighteousness, that uses his neighbor's service without wages, and giveth him not for his work. You hear that? Who giveth him not for his work.
African Americans built this nation. You built this nation. You know, you're just starting to get real credit for that. Okay, I don't know if you know that. You're just starting to get, you built the nation. We all built it, but you were such a massive part of it. Bigger than you were given credit for. Does that make sense? Right?
We don't want no pat on the back. This is what the scriptures say. Woe unto him that buildeth his house by unrighteousness, that useth his neighbor's service without wages, and giveth him not for his work. You ain't gave us what we deserve for our work. We don't want no pat in the back. We want what we deserve. That's why I'm telling y'all right now, I'm against any president, anybody in the office who ain't doing for our people. I'm against them. You're going to hear my rhetoric. I'm not with none of the politics. Yeah, we don't want no pat on the back. That's that, man. I'm done. Had to just bring this information out. Hey, look, man, they trying to cut SNAP benefits. They trying to cut Medicaid. It's getting crazy out here, man. It's getting wild out here. But anyway, nonetheless, I got more material coming. I want to thank y'all for joining. Make sure y'all turn the notification bell on and see if you can get some notifications. But thank y'all. Y'all be blessed. Peace.